Hello, everybody. My name is Bernadette Smith, and I am joined here by Patti Flynn. Patti, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Patti Flynn. I'm a senior DEI strategy consultant at Equality Institute, and I'm excited to be here today.
And I am Bernadette. I'm CEO of Equality Institute. And you are here for 5 Things in 15 Minutes, which is my weekly LinkedIn live show in which we talk about good news, good vibes in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and sometimes corporate social responsibility. Mm-hmm. So I find these good vibes every week, and I send out a newsletter on Saturday mornings called 5 Things. And what I have found is that there are so many stories that are focused on what's going wrong and the negative stuff. And I wanted to celebrate what's going right and lead with inspiration, not with fear. So that's what happens in the newsletter. And then on Mondays, I'm joined by a guest, and we talk about those 5 things to start your work week off with some DEI inspiration. So before we get into 5 things today, Patti, can you please just tell us a little bit about, it's Transgender Awareness Week this week. So can you tell us, one thing or a few things that anyone can do who's watching to be a great transgender ally?
Yes. And as you know, I'm a trans woman. And so I think listening to trans people tell their stories, the ones that are voluntarily offering up our experience to y'all, that it's important to just sit and listen. But also, there are some great trans folks on Instagram, on Facebook, and like Alexandra Billings, Chase Strangio, some folks who are fighting for a lot of the to change some of the things. Ashley Preston, also a good one to follow. And then, unfortunately, I don't want to promote Netflix because I'm still mad at them, but Disclosure Doc, the documentary about how trans people have been portrayed in the media over time is possibly the best thing to watch. I know this is a happy look at 5 things. It's really not a happy watch when you really get the chance to sit down and dig into it. But it's important kind of stuff to keep an eye on. And also, please, as allies, can y'all just step up and start making some noise about all these state legislatures passing all these awful, awful laws?
Yeah, so there are a lot of laws in southern U.S. states that have been anti-transgender laws that have actually gone into effect this year. I think there have been at least 16 already this year that have gone into effect. So folks who live in southern U.S. states in particular.
And even Idaho.
And even Idaho. Make some noise. Let your legislators know that's not acceptable. All right. So thanks, Patti. Thanks for sharing all that. Let's move on to 5 things. So the first story I wrote about this week is about the Nextdoor app, which is a social media app, particularly centered around neighborhoods. And it's something that gained a lot more traction during COVID, so folks could connect with their neighbors outside of Facebook and other stuff. So Nextdoor actually added some nudges into the reporting system to reduce racial bias. So nudges are behavioral interventions that can change behavior. They're a form of behavioral psychology. It's an outcome of behavioral psychology, or something that behavioral psychologists encourage for behavior change. Mm-hmm. Anyway, some nudges are really designed to promote inclusion. And what Nextdoor did is, for everyone who's reporting an incident, or who appears to be any user who appears to be reporting a crime, gets a little prompt that asks that person to consider whether what they're seeing is actually a crime. For example, walking around a neighborhood is not a crime, and to not rely on racial description in their reporting. And actually provide descriptions such as clothing, tattoos, facial hair, etc. That nudge actually reduced racial profiling in the app by 70%, which is really significant. Mm-hmm. And the app also has this prompt, this nudge, that when someone's replying to a post, a reminder to to consider kindness, which has led to a lot of users rewriting their original reply. So good stuff. These nudges are important.
Yeah, yeah, and they banned White Lives Matter,
Mm-hmm.
and they banned the use of All Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter when they're being used specifically in a reply that mentions Black Lives Matter. And so I think that's important. But I think it's also interesting to note that, outside of this, in the related articles part, kind of running along the side, there are um, several other reports on this particular CEO, on making Nextdoor a kinder app, telling other social media platforms they need to stop chasing growth at all costs, and investors seizing on that actually and seeing that as a positive. So I'm hoping that her perspective is listened to, because like, engagement is the thing that people are chasing, and it's what creates the divisiveness.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And especially if social media platforms promote promote other posts and promote content that is inflammatory and designed to create divisiveness.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, and I think first of all, one of my favorite books on diversity, equity, and inclusion is called Inclusion Nudges, and it's specifically focused around interventions that are behavioral science tested and approved. And I think these interventions kind of fit in with that. And I think it's just really, really cool to build this into the process, because we're humans. When we're loaded with bias, we can't be trusted to not report things like race. Like, we just can't. And so these interventions actually stop us, or hopefully reduce our likelihood of just being racist by default.
Yeah. Internalized biases.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So next story is that the state of Michigan removed a 6% sales tax on tampons and other menstrual products. Now, tampon taxes unfairly burden women who already face pay inequity. And I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that we're even having these conversations.
Yeah.
But there are still, I think, 28 states that tax tampons, and there are only a few countries in the world, US is not one of them, where tampons and menstrual products are actually free. So I don't know. What do you think, Patti?
I mean, I think it's a positive move, but yeah, I mean, it seems like that's, I'm happy. I'm happy that it's happening, but also, like, it's taken this long.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen,
there has to be a fight about it. Like, I know that there's certain items all throughout like a grocery store or a Target or like any other kind of like store that they're non-taxable. So it's not like this is some foreign concept for people to like think, well, we can make sure that this type of a thing isn't taxable. Like, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, why would there be a fight about this? So
yeah.
This should be in all 50 states, and I can't disagree with the idea that period products should be without cost.
Yeah, exactly. For everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up is Olay. Olay, the moisturizer company, the beauty company, redesigned its famous jar to have an easy open lid because the old jar design wasn't accessible. And the new jar design actually is an open source design that can be used by other companies as well. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, from Olay. That open source design thing is really cool. I think that it's important that companies don't, especially on accessibility things like this. And you and I were talking before this about how I read about a pill bottle that was created. I mean, I'm hoping it's not just an internet meme, but it was a similar situation where a rough collaboration of people across the internet with 3D printers and the ability to use the software to create these designs made a pill bottle for folks to dispense that have trouble holding on to small pills. So like it, and it's free, right? You know, like these plans are out there in the internet, and to make accessibility items more accessible, to stop paywalling them, is that's that shows a little bit of, at least we still have some humanity,
Right.
and it's really positive things to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that they're open source
Yeah,
because I mean, yeah, exactly. Why should these types of designs be exclusive? I mean, this
mhm.
is all about inclusion, right? Right?
Right, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, as a someone who likes marketing stuff, and you know, I've been involved in product design and things, and like, wouldn't you want your products to have the widest possible market? You know, like, not excluding people from being able to purchase and use your products. So, you know, and then they're also understanding that this is more than just them, and you know, rather than making this some sort of competitive advantage, they're going to help people.
That's right. That's right. Okay, next up is the Netflix show Another Life, which I haven't seen. Although, what I read, thanks to you sharing the story, is that it's a model of disability and non binary representation because, like, some of the characters, including someone who has a disability who uses a prosthetic leg, and someone else who's non binary, they're just well rounded characters with a lot of depth. And we got to love those types of authentic portrayals.
Yeah, I mean, like, I read this. This is the, I think, the key um, sentence. So the Jaeger, shoot, I don't recall his first name. He's uh, the disabled person on this show. He explains that most stories around disability focus on the acceptance stage of the character. How are they going to accept their disability? Will they ever be able to accept it? Will other people? And so and he continues, in the show, we're just people first and foremost. There isn't pressure to make the viewer or the characters work out how they accept us, because we're already there. It's like post acceptance. So it's just like they're just allowed to be people on the show, and it's
Mhm.
great for representation. But you also, it's great that they're not tokenized in a way that, like, they're just there for representation. They are full characters that have
Mhm.
you know, there's a love interest for the non-binary character. This, you know, they're talking about Jaeger talks about showing his sexuality um, as a disabled person, because normally that's not, you know, and like fully delving into that as part of the show. It's really, I haven't seen the show either because of, as I stated earlier, my little issue with Netflix right now. But yeah,
Cool. It's good stuff.
yeah.
All right. Last story is about Run Signup, which is a major sports race registration system. And now Run Signup has enabled options for races to turn on this registration feature that allows non-binary participants to register as such when they register for races. Does that make sense? Did I get that out right?
Yeah, you did. It's really great to see this happening. They're not done yet. I mean, but they've started it, and there's another company called Ultra Sign Up that has just recently done this as well. And you know, I'm not a non-binary person, and this is not a complete move yet, but it will be by January. I mean, I think the biggest thing is also to be able to see themselves in the standings, you know, in a
Mhm.
category that is congruent with their gender identity. And so just having this option and starting this process moving forward, and you know, I'm hoping that in races that have categorized uh, you know, podiums, that they include non-binary folks in those podiums, so that non-binary people can experience the thrill of winning a race as themselves. And so
Yeah.
and I know that that's starting to happen. And everybody's like, well, there's only 2 non-binary people. So what? So what? For so long, non-binary people have had to shove this down. So let them have their day.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
I know
a little bit of an overcorrection, right?
right.
But
I mean, I know that you're extra passionate about this as an endurance athlete. So, and this is some of the work that we're doing in the company as well.
Yeah. It was very timely when I came across it. So, it's so important for inclusion for not only for trans and non-binary runners, but disabled runners as well. They're fighting similar battles, especially in the trail circuits. So, just making sure that folks have these opportunities to participate and have something to strive for.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Patti, and thank you all for watching 5 Things in 15 Minutes. If you don't already subscribe to 5 Things, our newsletter on good vibes and DEI, you can subscribe by going to theequalityinstitute.com/join. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you next week. Bye.